Hello everyone. We are starting our 15th K Hub Tech Talk. Today our speaker Diana Sabashova. She will present to you topic Scrum. It's very interesting, very popular topic now. She will tell about her experience in Scrum, working in Scrum, difference between Scrum and Kanban, and other interesting topics. Word to you, Diana.
Hi everyone. Uh, Thank you for having me today. Sorry. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Diana Sapasheva. I am QA software testing engineer in IPAM, Kazakhstan. I also almost 2 years in QA and work 1.5 year as a key tester on my project. And I came from IPAM training center. Nice to meet you. So let's kick off. Today we are going to talk about Scrum. In agenda we have these topics. So first of all, it's Agile itself, 12 principles of Manifesto, Agile versus Waterfall. So we will cover some differences between Scrum and Agile, Scrum and Kanban, Scrum and Scrumban. Also, we will talk about Scrum elements, role of testing in Scrum. I will tell you some tools for effective ceremonies. Also, we will talk about what tester can face with during the Scrum. I will tell you about Winplan and the interesting thing that's GPT chat. What tells about the testing in Scrum and question part. So let's start. So to understand what is Scrum, we have to know about Agile. So what is Agile? First of all, Agile is a methodology which has became most popular recently because of its iterative approach. Second of all, Agile is a software development which helps teams deliver faster and with fewer headaches. Instead of betting everything on a big bang launch date, in agile team delivers work in small but consumable increments. And also requirements, plan, results are evaluated continuously, so team have natural mechanism for responding to change quickly. Agile methodology based on 12 principles, so which I've shortened for you them into main points. First of all, we have to focus on customer satisfaction, welcome change. We need to deliver frequently. We need to work together and be face to face. Also, we need to be motivated team. Very important to have working software, constant pace and progress, simplicity, good design. Our team, Scrum team, have to be self-organized and be open to reflect and adjust. Why companies choose agile nowadays? Here I pick top 10 reasons why. So first is reduces technical debt, easily and quickly adapt to change. Using agile creates a total transparency, more feedbacks, higher quality product, predictable delivery dates, better stakeholder engagement, user focused testing, greater customer satisfaction, and better project control. In addition, if we compare agile with other methodologies, for example, with waterfall, we see clearly that waterfall completely different life cycle. Waterfall project is a model in which every stage of product life flows steadily through down. So it's like step by step, or each after each, like waterfall. Uh, Otherwise, in Agile, represents iterative approach with small life cycles of feature or of increment, with whole these steps in one build or one increment. According to image, waterfall has risk during the whole process. So in the end, we have final big shippable product. But if we found some issues, it would be very hard to detect them. Otherwise, in Agile, we have small risk in each increments, so it would be a lot easier to hunt bugs. Here we can see some main differences between Agile and Waterfall. Additionally, life cycle in Agile is divided into sprints. In Waterfall is divided into phases. Flexibility in Agile, it's very flexible. Requirements are open to change whenever it can be. In Waterfall, it's only once when started. Testing planning provided in each sprint in Agile. Waterfall is discussed only in testing phase. Parallelism, sorry, is carried out on the same time with development. In other words, we can provide testing in the same time when developers can implement some other features. In waterfall, testing phase comes after build phase only. Firstly, it's implementation, and then only testing comes into work. Stability of requirement involving the requirements. In waterfall, suitable for stable and clearly defined requirements. And also, what about customers in Agile? Focused on clients' satisfaction and involves them to participate. It's really important to involve stakeholders, for example. In waterfall, does not require the participation of customers. Agile has its own manifesto, which should be taken as a guide. Let's try to remember it. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following the plan. So this guide should be taken as a rule. According to our official Scrum guide, Agile is founded on empiricism and lean thinking. And also there is three pillars: transparency, inspection, and adaptation that Scrum based on. So smoothly we came to the Scrum. So what is the main difference between Scrum and Agile? We know that Scrum is a part of Agile, but also we have differences. Agile, first, it's a philosophy or mindset, while the Scrum, it's a specific framework with a set of rules, events, and artifacts. Also, Scrum provides a more structured approach, while Agile is more flexible and adaptable to individual project. And what does Wikipedia explain us about Scrum meaning? So I picked this definition. Scrum is a framework for project management originally used for software development, although it has been used in other fields, including research, sales, marketing, and advanced technologies. It is designed for teams of 10 or fewer members who break their work into goals and with time box iterations called sprints. So, why is it called Scrum? People often ask Scrum as SCRUM, is it an acronym for something? And answer is no. It is actually inspired by a Scrum team tournament in the sport rugby. In rugby, the team comes together to move the ball forward. So, in this context, Scrum is where the Scrum team comes together to move the product forward, like analogy. In the next slide, we can see the shortly main differences between Scrum and Kanban. Compared to Scrum, which is the more adopted to software development, Kanban it's more about lean production. A main idea in Scrum is learn from your experience, prioritize, self-organize, analyze. In Kanban, it's more improves the quality of your work with your aids visual. Also in Scrum, there is a schedule. We have regular fixed duration called sprints, for example, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. In Kanban, only continuous process. Also, Scrum has its own methods, events like sprint planning, sprint daily, review. In Kanban, there is no such events needed. They have only inclusion of feedback loops. Additionally, in Scrumban, there is specific roles like product owner, Scrum Master, sorry, and dev team. In Kanban, no required specific roles. That's the main differences. Let's go on. And here we can see we can compare Scrum with Kanban and Scrumban, so three framework. Needless to say that Scrumban is a mix of Scrum and Kanban, where each project can choose best option from each frameworks from Scrum, so a little bit from Scrum, a little bit from Kanban. So mix it and you will have the Scrumban. Scrumban is a, so let's just see, and Scrumban is a Scrum, has time base in 1 year, 6 months, or 3 months buckets. Also, Scrumban is a Kanban, no specific roles needed, like Scrum Master, for example. In Scrumban, there is no such role. As Scrum, it has meetings. So in Scrumban, we have daily Scrum, we have review, retrospective, but in Kanban, there is no such meetings. Also, Kanban, as Kanban, new item iteration is allowed. If you know that in ideal Scrum, in pure Scrum, new items are not allowed to adding in the sprint because we have plan, we have sprint planning. Uh, that's where we can mix Scrumban. The next slide. So here I asked some colleagues from EPAM why their project choose Scrum. And the most popular answer was we have active development, we have a lot of tasks that need to be quickly delivered. That's why Scrum is more suitable for us. Also, the main examples of global organizations such as Tesla, Microsoft, and Amazon use Scrum successfully. Of course, Scrum has its own disadvantages. Here we can see some why yes and why no points. Why yes? Because agile, Scrum, sorry, fast and efficient way to achieve project result. At the same time, it's a blurry target can be a problem. Why yes? Because big tasks are broken down into more manageable parts. But why no? Because an experienced, motivated team is needed. Why yes? Because customer reviews are quickly and we have a lot of feedbacks quickly. So, at the same time, why no? Because large teams have difficulty adopting to this methodology. So, if I've already said, only 10 or fewer team members can be in Scrum. And last, why yes? Because changes can be implemented faster, but no, because Scrum roles are needed. Here we can see a short description of Scrum elements. So Scrum has its own roles, events, and artifacts. In Scrum team, there is no hierarchy, no sub-teams. The whole team is responsible for delivering the increment at the end of the sprint. Scrum team are cross-functional, and team members have all necessary skills. They are also self-managing, and they internally decide who does what, when, and how. Scrum ceremonies consist of 5 events. 4 of them are meetings known as a ritual. It's a daily Scrum, sprint planning, sprint review, and retrospective. And all these 4 meetings include into sprint. Scrum artifacts represent the work and provide the information and documents which are product backlog, sprint backlog, and product increment. Our Scrum process has 5 steps of workflow. Let's see what tester is doing on each step. The first phase is initiate. Uh, Initiate, where tester can define test strategy, test library, prepare the queue space, which is very important and takes time. In the second phase, plan and estimate. At this phase, tester can check definition of ready and provide static testing of main requirements. In the implement phase, tester provide feature testing and regression testing itself. In the review and retrospect, um, tester here can hold the demo and consider the feedbacks. And in the end, we have release with our shippable product or increment. In this phase, we represent test result report. This is a document for stakeholders, for team. For example, on my project, I prepared the ratio of sprint bugs to all tickets of the sprint, and the ratio of created bugs to closed bugs. And there is one problem can be uh, if features delivered in the end, it would be very difficult to test this feature because the sprint is ended. Here I picked top 8 tools for retrospective according to Google effective tools. Retrium, Team Retro, Metro Retro, Parabol, Easy Retro, Nitro, Ecometer, and Idea Board, which our project uses successfully. Let's see. So I can open it. So here we can see our board with 3 columns. So a few days before retro, the facilitator or organizer creates this board and sends this link to the team chat. This tool completely for free. Then each team member goes to this board and can write his own tickets into 3 columns. What went well, what can be improved, action items. And what went well, we can write some kind, I would say kind tickets. For example, we can congratulate each other with successfully deployment, with like here we successfully migrated to React, or we can welcome new team member like here, or we can thank someone for a good job. So it can be everything that we decide that it went well. The second column is what can be improved. Here we can write some issues that we faced on during the sprint, and maybe some about environment wasn't stable, or bad practice to test on feature branch, or let's provide some credentials to testers. Also, what you think that will be improving, you can write here. But it's very important to know that retrospective, it's not a blame game, but uh, mm, constructive criticism is welcomed. So here we are not blaming someone, we are just trying to improve something. And the third column, we write we move our tickets and we can assign For example, if we ask some credentials, we can write that please provide Jenkins availability for testing and who you assigned for, like backend or John. So, and the next retrospective meeting, we will see that all action items was covered and done or not. We will check it. Так, sorry. Here I picked top 4 tools for agile estimation that we used on project. All of them completely for free. So let's see. The first point in poker. It's just planning poker game, and Mentimeter. All of them represent a planning poker approach of estimation in agile, and they present Fibonacci numeric. So in pointing and here we can see the voting cards with the Fibonacci numeric from 1 to 13. So you can just choose your own maximum of Fibonacci numbers, and each team member goes into this board and vote after refinement of each user story. So we see some story, a user story, we ask our questions and we understand what to do, and then we go to board and vote in story points. This Mentimeter we use for hours because in my practice, some project practice 2 type of estimations in story points and in hours. For management, I think the most popular tools is Jira. We have sprint board where all tickets from sprint backlog are shown. And needless to say that each project can choose their own convenient board, but for us, this type of board is convenient. So we have 5 columns: to do, in progress, code review, ready for test, and done. We have main ticket or story or improvement. We have subtask under each main ticket. So this subtask shows what each member is doing and working on according to this ticket. So, for example, this ticket takes a lot of testing, almost 24 hours. So I split this job among 3 testers, and we can just test it in other entities. Also, this ticket takes front end, back end, and if we found some bugs, we can attach sub bugs here. This is the definition of done. This is the additional artifact. Specifies that all elements of user story have been completed. Now the Scrum team must agree on what done includes. They should define done and create is as a checklist. So the team can sit together and decide what does need to be finished in the end, and each of those tasks is done. Like here, so we can create our checklist. It can be main checklist with the main points, or it can be some deeply checklist with definition of done. So let's talk about headaches tester can face within Scrum. I think it's a lot of questions was about these problems. First is when automation testing is not included into estimations. It can be really a problem to testing team and leads to an effective strategy. Here, for arguments why we need to consider automation testing time into estimations. So, because it takes some time for execution, so we need to measure the exact time and consider this time in the sprint. Uh, the next is tester spend time for updating test library. Yes, we have to know, we have to pick area what can be automated. So it also takes some time. So occasionally testers use this time at the beginning of sprint, where not so big number of tickets delivered yet. Third is there a risk which takes time to solve. It can be issues with environment, for example. And testers spend time for creating bug reports. It also takes some time. So for these 2 points, I have one answer in my practice, where just try to consider this time plus 15 or 20 percentage for estimation time. For example, I have story for testing, and I estimated this story for uh, 8 hours. So plus 15, 20%, it can be 9 hours. So I will assign 9 hours for this task because I considered some risks in the future. Also, we can face with the lack of time in testing process. First, in case features were implemented closer to the end of sprint, it really happened. Of course, and in ideal Scrum, it's forbidden because there is no enough time for testing. So in this case, projects try to set limitation for developers, deadline date for developers. So maybe some extra days will remain for tester and testing process. But if it happened, if we we have delivered tickets at the end of the sprint for testing, there is no points. But Scrum Guide tells that testing process is moved to the next sprint, and this time should be considered in the test planning for upcoming sprint. Yes, it means you need to stop the sprint as usual. So if sprint ends, you have to end the sprint with this moment that we didn't test it yet. So, but we have to test it in the next sprint. But if this sprint didn't achieve the goal, we can say that the sprint is not successful. In case tasks were added at the end of the sprint. Yes, it also can be happened. According to pure Scrum, it is forbidden to add some extra task which weren't considered on the test planning. So, but if you have extra time, if we have done all tasks, we can add some tickets as long as they not affect to the sprint goal. The next, in case same story points have different testing time. Also, it's sometimes happening because if we have two story and with for example story points, but it not means that they all have the same testing time. It can be two story point but with 4 hours for testing. It can be also two story point with 5 hours testing. That's why our project use double estimating in story point and in hours together. Then we take these hours and replace it into Winplan, which is really interesting. And uh, nowadays, a lot of projects use Winplan. I will show a Winplan a little bit later. So, also, the fourth, no time to review requirements. As I've already said, we can use this. We can use time in the beginning of the sprint for reviewing requirements because features are not implemented yet. I wouldn't say that uh, immediately in the first day of sprint some tasks were delivered from developers. So that we can use this first time in the sprint for our QA activities, like test cases, reviewing requirements. So we'll Winplan. I promised that I will show you. And what is Winplan? It is a document that we lately used. If backlog shows the scope of story points for each ticket, Winplan shows the scope of hours for each tester or team member. So I will try to tell you and explain. In this example, I took whole tickets for one sprint, mm, and replaced this ticket for among testing team. So as I've already said, we can use the first time in the sprint for QA activities. Like I estimated that for requiring reviewing for new requirements, I will take 16 hours. So I split this time among two testers by 8 hours. And also third tester is on vacation. We can consider it also. The next day, we will do some QA activities like test cases, test library. Also, we will spend 16 hours, and I also split it among two testers. Then, on the third day, we hope that some tickets came delivered for us for testing, and I see that the first ticket 1501 weighs 16 hours, so I assigned this ticket for Aria, and she will be working on this ticket 2 days by 8 hours. For Sansa, I just took two tickets, 1602, 1703, and she will work on it whole day. And then I took all these tickets and replaced it among testers during the sprint. At the end of the sprint, of course, we have regression. And we can see that in our allocation, there is a day off. So we have to split our regression time among only these two testers. For regression, I planned 32 hours, which is because of manual testing. And I assigned it for 8 hours a month. This is how the win plan looks and works. And in conclusion, I think all of us heard about GPT chat, which has become very popular right now. And in conclusion, let's see what GPT chat tells us about tips and tricks for testers in Scrum. I asked him, and he answered me at these points. So first, get involved into development process early. In another words, a tester should work closely with developers from the beginning of the sprint. This includes collaborating on acceptance criteria, reviewing user stories, and identifying potential challenges. The next, automate as much as possible, which is really important. I agree, because Scrum emphasizes delivering working software at the end of each sprint, which can be difficult to achieve without automating tests. Testers should identify areas what that, that can be automated, such as regression testing, which increase efficiency and reduce the risk of human error. The third, focus on testing the most important functionality first. It means we have to prioritize, because prioritizing testing efforts can help ensure what most important functionality should be tested first. Fourth is be flexible and adaptable. In Scrum, requirements can change rapidly, so testers need to be willing to learn new skills as soon as possible, and technologies that increase efficiency and effectiveness. And last but not least, collaborate with the developers. I also totally agree with it, because testers should work closely with developers to ensure that they understand the requirement and potential issues. This helps reduce misunderstanding and identify defects early. This is all from my part. Let's go to the question part.
Yes, thank you, Diana, for your great talk. And we are moving for our comments. We have several comments in the chat, and we are waiting for your questions. First, related to waterfall methodology, how I understand, have you had experience working in waterfall? Um, did you have
Uh,
experience? What?
Thank you for your question. No, unfortunately, no. I didn't have. I don't have experience in working waterfall. Maybe in the future, time will show us.
And next question, relating to Winplan that you showed. Clarify question. What is the reason for the double estimation hours and story points? Why only story points is not enough in this case?
Thank you for your question. Really good question. Before, so we faced with some problems with story points because a lot of team members changes every time, and we found out that there is no enough to estimate only in story points. We can see that, as I've already said, there is two two story can have a different time spending. So we try to estimate in story points to know our capacity, and we try to estimate in hours to know how to say how it to replace it into sprint. So it like map will show us what each team member will do and how long it takes. I
Mhm.
hope I answered.
Yes, thank you. And while we're waiting for your questions, we're waiting. We're in live. You can write comments to ask questions. We had page Q&A session in our community page, and we had several questions there. And I want to ask some of them. Can Scrum Master lead multiple projects at the same time?
Mhm. Very interesting question. Thank you. According to Scrum Guide, there is no such limitation or restriction that Scrum Master cannot lead several multiple projects. But from my point of view, if you so like for example, there is a two project that works on one application. They have same technologies, they have same goals. So if there is no problems with scheduling, why not the Scrum Master can lead this two project. But also I think it would be some problem with focusing on working. It really depends on the project, it depends on situation.
Okay, thank you for your answer. We have another question in the chat. Why you have to use only Fibonacci numbers?
No, actually, no. Why on the Fibonacci? There's a lot of techniques for estimation. You can use on just numeric estimation, which is from 1 and 14, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a very simple estimation. Also, recently I heard some interesting estimation in animals. If you know, some projects try to be interesting, not boring on the project, and they estimate their user stories in animals by size. For example, one story point is a bee, three story point is a rabbit, five story point it's a cat, and so we can see a lot of animals using their size till a whale, the huge whale. I hope I answered.
Can you hear me? Sorry, I have problem with
Yes,
my network.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for your answer. Very interesting example. There are a lot of thank you words in the chat, and we have another question. Uh, is time for meetings includes in Winplan? Interesting question.
Time
Yeah,
In Winplan,
meetings.
no, we don't include time meetings into Winplan. Uh, as- I don't know. I can't answer exactly, but I didn't heard that all project do it. It's a rule. We have it's a ritual. All these meetings. Maybe some extra meetings we can add for like meetings and calls point ticket, but extra like three amigo sessions or something clarification. Left testing meeting also can be added.
Great, thank you. Uh, okay, thank you words in the chat. Yes, you can please send thank you words in the chat and also badges to Diana. And we have another question. You can write questions in the chat. Yeah, when I want to read from our community, but we have another question in the chat. Do you have a limit on the size of a story in story points? What is the max size?
It is depends on the project what they decide the maximum of story points. For example, in my practice, we decided that the eighth story point will be maximum, and we never use eight point story point. For example, if we see that this this story weighs 8 points, we will decompose it in some another small sub stories, because we never use 8 story points. It's very high for us, and I think it depends on project. You can provide one meeting where you will discuss about what is the maximum for your estimation.
Thank you for your answer. We're waiting for questions, and while we're waiting, I want to ask another question from our community. What estimation techniques do you know?
Okay. So as I already said, the first very simple. It's numeric from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just wherever. And second, it's a I think the most popular. It's a planning poker. Sorry. And the next is a three dots estimation. T-shirt size estimation. Also, I heard about Delphi, analogy, animal estimation, and recently I faced with estimation in dog's breed. Uh, it represents this story as a dog and grooming, like you try to put your dog on the grooming and how long it takes, how much work it takes to groom this dog, from small size to big size of dog, from chihuahua till labrador.
Okay, thank you for such example. We have another question in the chat. How to improve tester and developer collaboration earlier in the sprint?
If you mean collaboration, um, like total transparency, I would say you have to try to talk with them, provide meetings. You need to discuss. If you will see some issues with collaboration, with communication, maybe there is a point for retrospective. So maybe there's not enough time for them, but it is collaboration very important. It will prevent some bugs if you try to collaborate with developers.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Can product owner and Scrum Master's roles be played by the same person?
Completely no, because it's a different ownership. Uh, mm, okay, so product owner is responsible for prioritizing stories, for ordering in backlog, for taking into account stakeholders, for communicating with stakeholders. But Scrum Master, um, he just like coach. He tries to coach a team according to Scrum guide. Scrum Master checks that team doesn't deviate from sprint goal, that's very completely different working.
Okay, thank you. Um, we are waiting for your questions or comments. Thank you, words, badges. And while we're waiting, I am asking the last question from our community page. What to do if the sprint is not at the end, but all the work has already been done?
Um, so uh, I think I answered it, but I will repeat it. According to Scrum Guide, adding new task, if it's a fulfilled fulfilled sprint, it's forbidden. But if we just have done all tasks and we have extra time till ending the sprint, we can add some new task as long as does not affect to sprint goal. So if we add some small task and they will test and the sprint ends, it's okay. If you will add some new task that can affect our previous work and it will affect the whole sprint goal, it's forbidden.
Okay, thank you for your answer. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Okay, let's go to next slide. We want to announce our events. Yes, we have two upcoming events. One you can see in the slide. It's our Tech Talk Next Tech Talk integration testing using SpecFlow plugin. You can start registering. You will see a link in the chat. Now we'll be sending link for this event. Madina will tell about how to work with SpecFlow plugin, her experience, and also we will have our Kahoot game. You already can start register. Register. It will be after few days, and there will be interesting Kahoot game where you can win prizes from our K-Hub community. We will wait for you. And again, thank you, Diana. Yes, thank you for such interesting, great presentation. And
Thank you for your
yes,
coming.
yes, thank you, all participants who joined us. Thank you very much. Have a great day. See you on our next. Yeah, sorry, and I see question. Um, yeah, I see one question we will ask, and then I think we will finish because I didn't see it. Could you share a little more detail on the approaches for the case when the features are completed by the end of the sprint? You spoke about it, but how does the approach affect the next sprint?
Uh, okay, so if we didn't have enough time for testing because some tickets delivered from the implementation in the end, we have to end the sprint. Because to extend the sprint, it is forbidden in Scrum. We have to end the sprint occasionally and decide that the sprint is unsuccessfully closed. So when the first day, so when the next sprint, upcoming sprint started, testing continue their testing, and this time was would be considered in the sprint for this upcoming sprint. So if you spend um, for example 2 days on the sprint planning for the next sprint, you have to say that we spent 2 days for testing from previous sprint, and we have to maybe mm, remove some tickets because we already doesn't fit to the this sprint new sprint. And also it is a meal for thinking that something we didn't cover, something went wrong. Maybe it was a lot of bugs that we spent a lot of time for testing sub bugs. Maybe it's a huge number of tasks for sprint which is didn't fit for this time. It can be a lot of reasons why this happened, but you should discuss it. You should to think about why it happened. I try to not to try to avoid it in the next time.
Okay, thank you for your answer. I have a lot of thank you words in the chat. And I think in this moment we will stop our tech talk. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Diana, again for your talk, Q&A session. Thank you all. Have a nice day. Bye bye.